All right, so getting right into it today, we're really diving deep into something pretty intense. We're talking about BPD, borderline personality disorder, and how it plays out in romantic
Yeah.
relationships. And, we're not just talking clinical definitions here. We're trying to get into the real nitty-gritty, the actual experience. We've got this piece, and it's really more than just an article. It's like a glimpse into what both partners go through emotionally.
Yeah, it's about like really shifting how we see things, right? Moving away from this whole fixing someone mentality and more towards like growing together, open communication, really getting each other.
I love that. Shared growth. And speaking of seeing things differently, this piece we've got, it starts by taking us right inside the head of someone with BPD. It talks about this constant battle going on inside, almost like they're wrestling with these like shifting identities. Has it ever felt like who you are is always changing?
It's such a powerful image, right? And it gets at like the core of why BPD can be so tough, especially in relationships. Imagine like trying to build something with someone when your own foundation feels shaky, always shifting.
Wow, shifting. That's a really good way to put it. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about what the piece says about that push and pull thing. On the one hand, needing that validation from your partner, but then on the other hand, being terrified of overwhelming them with all your emotions.
Totally. And that's why understanding what's going on inside is so crucial for both people, right? The person with BPD is trying to make sense of this inner chaos, and their partner is trying to figure out, like, how do I support them without making it worse?
It's like this impossible situation, wanting to be close, but then having to pull back. And that's where it starts to feel like walking a tightrope for the partner, right? You want to be there, but the piece talks about how even when you mean well, it can backfire.
Oh, yeah. And it's so confusing for the partner because what they think is helpful, the person with BPD might see as intrusive or like criticism even.
And that's not coming from a bad place. It's just that, as the piece says, BPD often comes with this deep fear of invalidation.
Right. So when the partner tries to jump in with solutions, it can feel like they're not being heard. It's like instead of putting out the fire, it's adding more fuel to it.
Because it's not about fixing the problem right then, it's about validating the feelings behind it. And that's where the piece really emphasizes the need for space for self-discovery.
Yeah, this idea that sometimes the best thing you can do is give them the space to process and figure things out on their own time. It's their journey.
So how do you balance being there without taking over, supporting without trying to fix? It seems like communication is key.
Communication is like absolutely essential. And the piece makes that so clear. But it's not just about talking more, it's like learning to really understand each other's emotional language.
When the piece mentioned emotional languages, it got me thinking about how often we're just missing each other's signals in relationships, like we're speaking different languages of love and support. How do we bridge that gap, especially with BPD?
Well, for the person with BPD, the piece suggests something really powerful. And it's simply clearly saying what they need in the moment. Like, I need some space, or I need you to just listen.
Because otherwise the partner's left guessing, which just leads to more problems, right? What about for the partner? Any communication tips from the piece?
Active listening is huge. Really tuning in to what your partner's saying, even when it's hard. And then validating those feelings without jumping into problem-solving mode.
Yeah, so not here's what you should do, but more like, I hear you, I get that this is really tough for you, just acknowledging how they feel right then.
Exactly. Validation is so powerful because it says, I understand you, I accept you. The piece even gives some good examples of validating phrases like, it makes sense that you'd feel that way, or this sounds incredibly difficult, I'm here for you.
Those are great. I'm writing these down. Okay, so we've got these two perspectives on BPD, the communication tightrope. But I really like how the piece tackles this idea that the partner has to fix the person with BPD. You can't just fix mental health.
Right, and it pushes back against that idea hard. Because the truth is, you can't fix someone else's mental health. You can be there for them, encourage them as they're on their own healing journey. It's more about empowering them to manage it than taking it away.
And that change in mindset, from fixing to supporting, that's big for both people, don't you think?
Huge. For the person with BPD, it lets them take ownership of their journey without feeling like a burden. Less self-criticism, which can be a big thing with BPD.
And for the partner, it takes off some of the pressure. They don't have to be the savior all the time, which honestly can be exhausting, and eventually it just doesn't work.
It's about finding a better balance where both people feel supported, not just one person carrying the weight of the other's mental health. It's about sharing that weight, walking that path together. And the piece talks about some really concrete ways couples can do that, like celebrating small victories, focusing on progress over perfection. What are some examples of those small victories? Could be anything from understanding themselves better, like the person with the BPD being able to recognize their triggers or say what they need more clearly. Or it could be better communication, fewer fights, more empathy between them.
Those are definitely wins, even if they seem small at the time. It's all about recognizing the progress, not aiming for this impossible perfection, right?
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. There can be ups and downs, but it's that commitment to growth, to showing up for each other, that really matters.
And through it all, the message is hopeful, wouldn't you say? Like, even with the challenges of BPD, there's still so much potential for growth, connection, love.
It really is. And it's refreshing that the piece doesn't get stuck just on the internal struggles with BPD. It zooms out, looks at the whole picture of the relationship.
Totally. Like, how do you actually have a good life together, even with these challenges? It's not just about managing BPD, it's about remembering the relationship itself. One thing that really struck me was how important shared activities are, doing things together to strengthen the bond.
Absolutely. Finding those hobbies, things you both enjoy, even simple stuff like, mindfulness exercises, doing them together. It's about shifting the focus away from the challenges, remembering you're on the same team.
Right. Like, hey, we're more than just BPD over here. We're two people who love doing whatever it is together. That shared joy, that connection, it can be so powerful.
And it's cool. The piece explains why that works. Those activities, they create this space for regulating your emotions, for connecting, for growing together. And it's not all about BPD anymore, which is huge.
It's like hitting the reset button. You remember there's a bigger picture, the things that make you happy, both as individuals and as a couple.
Exactly. And of course, it acknowledges that sometimes you need extra help. It really emphasizes getting outside support, both on your own and as a couple.
Yeah, therapy, support groups, those can be real game changers.
Absolutely, because sometimes you just need that outside perspective. Someone who's been there can guide you through the tough stuff. And it's not about giving up. It's about giving yourself the tools to communicate better, handle conflict, build a stronger base for the relationship.
Like having a coach in your corner.
Exactly. And that's the vibe I get from this piece overall, that even with BPD being a factor, there's so much hope for a strong, loving relationship. It's not some fairy tale, but it's about understanding that relationships take work, especially in this situation.
It's about that shared commitment, right?
Yeah.
To growing, communicating, being there, even when it's tough. And the piece doesn't shy away from that. It's honest about the challenges, but it still emphasizes the possibility of love and connection.
It's a dance, that's for sure. But the amazing thing is, with every step, you learn more about yourselves, each other, about what it really means to love and support someone. And that's beautiful.
It really is. And as we're kind of wrapping up our look at this piece, there's this one question that's really stuck with me. It's something for all of us to think about. The piece asks, when was a time you felt truly seen and understood in a relationship, even when things were difficult?
That's a powerful question.
It is. It made me realize that sometimes the most profound stuff comes from looking inward, from our own experiences, seeing how these lessons fit into our own lives.
It really is, yeah. It's easy to lose sight of that, get so focused on handling the BPD, the day-to-day, that we forget, connecting as people is important too.
It's like the piece is saying, hey, don't forget about the love. That's what makes it all worth it,
Exactly. And it's not about pretending the hard stuff isn't there. It's that even with those challenges, there can be real strength, resilience, love.
Finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the reality of BPD, but also holding on to that hope that comes with truly getting each other.
You know what I thought was really interesting? This piece doesn't try to give you some quick fix, some magic answer. It's more like it gives you a roadmap, a way to think about BPD and relationships that feels honest, but also empowering.
I like that, a roadmap, because it is a journey. And like any journey, you're going to hit bumps, detours, maybe take a wrong turn or two. But as long as you're both committed to growing, to communicating, you can handle those bumps together.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about this piece. You come away feeling like it's possible. That even with BPD being part of things, you can build something real, loving, strong.
And isn't that what we all want at the end of the day? To be seen for who we are, even the messy parts, and loved anyway. To find that person who will go on that journey with you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us as we explored BPD and relationships. We hope this got you thinking and maybe gave you a little bit of hope too. And remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Keep learning, keep talking to each other. Until next time, take care.